Have you ever felt like if your mind is a runaway train that just takes off on its own? In this episode, we'll investigate how meditation can help you become mindful and observant of your own thoughts. We'll explore the realistic potential of meditation and what it can actually do for you, how to avoid some common pitfalls, and how to integrate it into a secular, meaningful practice. Since there are some rather unscrupulous characters with big promises on the playing field, I'm also taking the opportunity to point out what meditation is not. Hello, and welcome to Beyond Belief, a show dedicated to exploring Buddhism and meditation through a secular lens, free from unnecessary symbolism and religious dogma. I'm Alexander. I've been practicing meditation for over a decade and spent some time as a Buddhist monk in the Theravada Thai forest tradition. My aim here isn't to present myself as some kind of expert or guru of any kind, but to share my experiences and encourage you to explore the Eightfold Path with critical thinking and an open mind. Meditation in itself requires no belief. Anyone can benefit from the practice, regardless of religion or cultural background. You don't need to be a Buddhist to meditate, but you have to meditate to call yourself a Buddhist. Meditation is the practical core of Buddhism. It's the direct method for experiencing concepts like impermanence and non-self. Despite what some popular kind of new age influencers would want you to believe, the end goal of meditation is not just relaxation. It's a gateway to experiencing things clearly, to seeing things the way they really are. Meditation helps us to see how our thoughts, emotions, and sensations arise and pass away, without clinging to them or identifying with them as me or as mine. It allows us to see the process of experience rather than getting caught up in the content of our thoughts. It is essentially a technique and a tool for observation of the irrational mind. As you embark on the meditation practice, you may soon find out that it's not necessarily a smooth ride, as it does require a great deal of persistence and practice. Even for experienced meditators, this can be rather frustrating. But much like an athlete, you have good days and you have bad days. Like I say, the practice requires no belief, but it does take a degree of faith. Faith in the fact that this will eventually lead to something valuable and worthwhile. What most of us quickly find out is that the mind is a rather messy environment. Much like a radio, your inner voice will come on and start disturbing you in your attempts to make sense of things. Thoughts pop up. What if I made the wrong decision? Oh, I must not forget to book that paddle court for Thursday. And like if that wasn't enough, we often tend to repeat the same narratives over and over again. What if I made the wrong decision? And for some inexplicable reason, we seem to find it equally acceptable or entertaining on the 25th repetition as we did on the first. So why does this even happen? Who is it that the mind is attempting to communicate with? And who is it that needs convincing? I mean, You are the thinker of your thoughts. So who is it that your mind is talking to? This feeling of a constant inner dialogue is often based on the illusion of a fixed and separate self. Many of us live with the idea that the mind sort of resides somewhere in the head. And it kind of feels like a separate entity from the body. Meditation helps us to see that this self is actually nothing more than a collection of constantly changing thoughts, emotions, and sensations. There is an apparent duality here. You are both the thinker of thoughts and the observer of thoughts at the same time. And this can, for very obvious reasons, become rather confusing. A common misconception in this scenario is that we're trying to not think, attempting the impossible task of cancelling out all the thoughts altogether, when in reality, the objective is to be mindful and observant and gain a perspective on that internal conversation that we tend to identify with as the self, as ourselves. There is a lot of false impressions of meditation, and it doesn't help that there are all sorts of charlatans out there marketing meditation as some kind of magic wand that you can wave about in order to find answers to questions, promises of instant enlightenment, guaranteed wealth, psychic powers, and all sorts of other fantasies. And this is where we need to, yet again, be critical and examine what's being said and promised. If it sounds too good to be true, it normally is. All that meditation actually is observation of the mind without judgment or interference. It's about cultivating an awareness of our present moment experience. What it can do is help us to wake up to the realization that our inner narrative may be a dreamlike state that we have come to trust as the reality. Meditation can ultimately help us to take a step back from that and to see things from a different perspective, to see things the way they really are. Now, let's put these principles into practice with a short guided meditation. Remember that the goal isn't to achieve a blank mind, but to observe our thoughts and sensations with curiosity and acceptance. Let's apply what we talked about last week. We sit comfortably without leaning, and as we slowly let our eyelids close and get ready to tune in and observe what the mind is telling us. We scan the body in order to let go of any tension and to relax. We smile gently to add a sense of positivity and tranquility. We pay attention to our breath, entering through the nostrils, down through the windpipe, and we feel the air expanding the lungs. We notice a short pause as the process reverses, and we slowly exhale the warm air from our lungs. we are just observing without trying to control the breath or force it in any way. Enjoying the natural rhythm that the body is presenting us. We stay mindful and observant as we bring the attention to the center of the body. We can feel the sensation of the chest expanding and contracting with each breath. The belly rising and falling. We sit steady and grounded. We feel safe in the environment that we are in, and we appreciate the stillness. Here we can choose to view our breathing as a direct reflection of life itself. All the senses are activated to fully appreciate this moment. Notice sounds, smells, or any sensory input. Whenever a thought arises, we take a moment to observe and let it dissolve. Whether pleasant or disturbing, it doesn't matter at this point in time. Nothing can affect us now. We remain non-reactive, engaged in observation without judgment. For better or worse, we accept and embrace our current state. Right now, this is who we are, and this is where we find ourselves. We enjoy the silence of the space that we're in, and we let that reflect on our mind. We treat the mind as one of our senses. We anchor it and let it observe our breath, inhaling and exhaling. Just like the air entering and exiting, so are the thoughts. They too arise and dissolve back into the same nowhere where they seemingly appeared from. We remain conscious and curious of the source of our thoughts. It seems miraculous. It appears that something comes from nothing, much like life itself. We take a moment to acknowledge that we are the lucky ones to have a conscious experience in the first place. We celebrate this life by paying attention to our mind. We breathe and we focus on the sensations in our bodies. Mindfully, we remain in this state of observation as our meditation is coming to an end. When we finally slowly open open our eyes, we take a brief moment to contemplate and to reflect over something that truly deserves our attention. So what did you notice during this meditation? How did your mind react? Just as I promised last week, I'm going to take a few moments to answer some of your questions. Laura from Texas is asking, is it really okay to question the Buddha's teachings? Absolutely, Laura. The Buddha himself encouraged critical thinking and investigation, as well as personal verification. It's not about blindly accepting everything that you're being told, but about examining the teachings for yourself and seeing if they lead to any sense of satisfaction and increase in well-being. That said, it's important to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but blind faith has no place in Buddhism. As a matter of fact, many of my teaching monks often initiated their Dhamma talks by saying, "You don't need to believe me, but this is how it's said," and then followed the talk. Sophia from Sweden is saying, you talked about symbolism in Buddhism. How do you know what's a helpful symbol and what's just unnecessary baggage? I don't know if symbolism is baggage. I just find it to be unnecessary, but that's a very personal decision. A helpful symbol is one that inspires you to practice and reminds you of the core teachings. If a symbol doesn't resonate with you, or if you find it to be distracting or confusing, then it's perfectly okay to set that aside. The key is to be mindful to why you're using symbols and whether it's actually benefiting your practice. Ask yourself what the symbol actually represents and whether you can relate to that on a deeper level. Max is wondering, is secular Buddhism a watered down Buddhism? Am I missing something by not embracing the traditional beliefs and rituals? That's a great question. And it's probably a common concern, and some would argue that yes. However, secular Buddhism isn't about watering down the teachings, but about stripping away the elements that aren't essential to the core message. It's about making the teachings accessible and relevant to people living in the modern world. Whether you feel that you're missing out on something by not embracing traditional beliefs is obviously a personal question. The best way to find out is to explore various approaches and to see which one resonates with you more deeply. Remember the Buddha's advice here. Examine your goal and investigate for yourself. If you have any questions on meditation, secular practice, or monkhood, please put them in the comments below. And if you want to speak with me directly, pop me an email to the address that appears in the outro. Next week, we shall finally be talking about the core teachings of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths. And as usual, we'll practice meditations together and I'll answer some of your questions. Until then, remember to practice, meditate, and investigate. See you next week. Bye-bye.